Mary Kay's on the
That's a
Wise
short
Heart
list of
Right.
people.
We make it right. Call Kyle Right hotline. Hello, Mary Kay. Whoa. Hello, Mary
Hello,
Kay.
guys.
Hi. How are you? Well, I don't need to ask you how you are. I'm sorry. I got thrown off a little bit there. I got a weird question here, and it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Terrion Arnold gets arrested, conspiracy to rob and kidnap, and that's ugly. And he probably is not going to be back this season unless he gets completely exonerated of anything very, very soon. It doesn't look like that's going to happen either. The Lions have to call the Browns then, don't they? And this is a conversation that we're probably going to have. Hopefully no more guys get arrested, but if another corner goes down, like because of the Myles Garrett trade, we just have to have this conversation every time because the less corners that are good in the NFL, the more his price would go up.
Well, I think, as you mentioned, the Myles Garrett trade makes certain that no one is completely off limits and that everyone has a price and that there's a time and a place for everything. Mm-hmm. But I really don't see the Browns having any desire whatsoever to trade Denzel Ward. Now, of course, having said that, and like I said back when you asked me about Myles Garrett, you can never say never about any of these things. You're not going to trade someone until someone comes along and offers you Jared Verse and a first-round pick and a second-round pick and a third-round pick. So you can never say never. We know that Andrew Berry loves to wheel and deal, but at this moment in time, I don't think that they have any plans whatsoever to trade Denzel Ward.
Everybody has a price. I agree. I agree with everything you just said. What would the price have to be on Denzel for them not to do it, but to have this conversation of, okay, we have to take this seriously?
Well, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He's a great leader for this football team. First-round picks would certainly have to be involved. And I don't know if it would have to be multiple or if it would have to be one and some other good things. But you're not going to give up Denzel Ward for nothing. He would come at a pretty steep and heavy price. Mm-hmm. And once again, I just don't even think that this is something that they want to do in any way, shape, or form.
Another person in that secondary, Grant Delpit, and he wasn't participating, and I kind of threw it in with Lima. Is he kind of having a hold in? Because that's a contract that's up. What do you know about the future of Grant Delpit with the Cleveland Browns?
Grant is in really, really good standing. If you watched him on the sidelines, you could see with your own two eyes that he was not conducting a hold-in. He was engaged. He was helping other players. He was laughing. He was joking around. He was watching drills. He was very, very much into it. And he showed up for voluntary OTAs as well. You're not going to do that if you are staging a hold-in. So this is not that kind of situation with him. He had a minor tweak of something, as did Denzel Ward during minicamp. These were not a pair of contract issues going on out there by any stretch. Grant is in great standing with the club. They like Grant as much as they always have. And I would think at some point over the next several months that they will open up probably some extension talks with him. And I think they certainly like him well enough to try to get something done.
I was going to say, how quickly can they get some done with him? He's still a young player. He's still very, very good, but you answered it right there. I want to ask you about your Myles Garrett story there. It seemed like, does it feel like that maybe there was writing on the wall leading up to this? Because, yeah, he's respected in the locker room, but it wasn't necessarily a lovey-dovey relationship with the rest of the team.
Well, as I wrote in my story about Jared Verse being more of a connector, a unifier, maybe a force multiplier in some ways, I think that Myles had the impact on some guys that he almost dwarfed some of the other players on the football team just with his larger-than-life presence. I think there were times on the football field where maybe a guy was a little reluctant to go all out and meet him at the quarterback for half of a sack because maybe he knew he would hear about that or something. I just think that Jared Verse might have more of a team-building effect on this roster. And the players, most of the players, all of the players respected Myles, revered Myles. Not all of them absolutely loved him in the way that you sometimes do with a teammate. So we'll see how this goes. I don't necessarily think that he was one of those guys that you would call a great team leader by any stretch.
Yeah, totally agree with that. The Sorsby thing, and I'm asking this from a stance of I want no part of him in Cleveland. I've been consistent on that. I'm just curious, from what you know, do you think he wins this, what seems to be a legal battle that's about to ensue, or is he really sitting out the year?
Well, this is kind of a tangled mess right now, and I don't know if they're going to have time to actually pull off a supplemental draft, which has to be conducted, I think, 7 days before the start of training camps, which I think most camps open around July. Yeah, it's coming very fast. For some teams, it's sooner than July 29th. For a lot of teams, it is July 29th, including the Browns. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get something done in time for the 2027 season. So I think we all have to see how this is going to play out. And I think it could end up in court. The NFLPA is going to get involved. But I just don't think that the Browns are hot on his heels to put in a bid on him in the event that he somehow is able to pull off a supplemental draft before this season. I'm not feeling it. I wrote that right off the rip when he first said he was entering the supplemental draft, and I still feel that way. I don't think much has changed in that regard. I think they like what they have in the room, and I don't think they want to get involved in this situation.
Speaking of quarterbacks, there's been some smoke in certain places about trade rumors for two members of the Browns quarterback room, and Dylan Gabriel and certainly Shedeur Sanders. I haven't heard anything. Have you, Mary Kay? Has there been anybody who's texting you about teams putting in calls about Shedeur or even Dylan Gabriel?
No, not at the moment. I think that the Browns are pretty committed to their two-way quarterback competition between Shedeur and Deshaun, and I think camp will open up that way, and then we'll see how that plays out. Now, when you fast forward to August 30th and it comes time to shaping your roster and making those cutdowns, at that point they will do what they always do, and they will listen to offers for any quarterbacks that aren't starting. And that's just how it goes. Each year we've heard about, them possibly trading Joe Flacco and possibly trading Jameis Winston, possibly trading a number of guys. And quite often they do end up trading those guys. So I do think that there is a world in which if Deshaun wins the job, that they probably would at least take a phone call for Shedeur. They would take phone calls for Dylan Gabriel. But I don't think they're shopping him right now. I don't think they're looking to trade him. I think they want to conduct their quarterback competition and let it play out.
It just seems to be Mary Kay as well. Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the show. It just seems to be nonsense where, Kenny Pickett got traded last year, but he was traded after he had the hamstring tweak in camp. And once he had the hamstring, and it's like, well, he could be out 2 weeks. I'm like, well, that's it. He ain't going to be the starting quarterback now. And, yeah, they've traded quarterbacks, but they've made it kind of clear they were moving on from them being the starter. This would be crazy where it's like, hey, this guy, he is legitimately in the conversation to be the week one starter. I don't think you'd be talking about trading him. I don't understand about any rumors about trading Shedeur Sanders. I could understand Dylan Gabriel to some level, I guess, for a seventh rounder, but Shedeur, I don't think you have a new head coach. Why would you do something like that right now? It doesn't make sense.
Well, you would not be engaging in substantive trade talks right now. You just wouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
What might happen, perhaps, maybe you're checking around about the availability of another player. And while you're on the phone with the team, they say, hey, what are your plans with Shedeur? I mean, there could be things like that going on because teams have those kinds of talks all the time. But I'm sure at that point, that's where the Browns would say, no, we're not moving him. We're conducting a quarterback competition. We think he could possibly be our week one starter. We see some really good things in him. He came on really strong in the second half of OTAs and in minicamp, and we're not ready to give up on him yet. We want to see what we have. So I'm sure that's probably how the conversations would go.
Can you keep him as the backup if he doesn't win the starting job?
I think it would be challenging. I think it would be very challenging. I think the Browns probably believe they can do that, but I think that perhaps they would be underestimating the reaction that would be happening at Huntington Bank Field. And they'll probably get a taste of it in preseason, and they should. They should find out what happens when you put Deshaun Watson out there and when you put Shedeur out there and what the reaction is, because it's going to be more of the same. This will be a unique situation if Deshaun wins the job, because he'll actually be better received on the road than he will be at home. And it's a great way to start out the season with 2 games on the road, but then you do have to come home, and you are going to have to deal with the very real phenomenon of Shedeur being loved and Deshaun being the villain. And it's something that has to be addressed and dealt with, and it's just a very, very interesting problem to have.
Well, if he's named the backup officially, like after camp, they go, we're going to go with Deshaun. There's like, you can't. It could end up being the best thing for Shedeur, because I could see a world where, hey, you started out behind the 8 ball last year, you got thrust into games that maybe you weren't ready for, you had to catch up with, and when you got a new coach, you got a new system. I mean, I don't want to have to be talking about, well, we got to trade him just because he doesn't start. I don't think that could be very good for Shedeur's career. I don't think that could be good for Shedeur's maturation as an NFL quarterback.
But aren't they telling you what they think about him if Deshaun starts over him?
Yeah, I certainly do agree that they think that he's more equipped for them to win games. I was asking Mary Kay that question, though, not Jason.
Well, Mary Kay can answer.
Oh, sorry, Mary Kay. Go right on ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure the Browns would think that even if Deshaun starts the season, they want to keep Shedeur around, because generally they end up starting 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in a season, and they probably would get a chance to see Shedeur like they did last year when he came from fourth-string quarterback to starting quarterback of this football team for the final 7 games. So there is probably a world in which he would start games even if he doesn't start the season. But right now, they really legitimately, truly feel that he has a shot to do that, and they're not ready to give up on that.
Mary Kay Cabot on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, call Kyle Wright hotline. Final question, how do you keep raccoons out of the garbage?
You have to keep the garage door closed.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase the question. When the garbage is taken out to the curb, how do you keep raccoons out of your garbage?
Mary Kay lives in a gated community. There are no raccoons.
Raccoons can climb over gates, can climb over walls. She doesn't live in a biosphere.
This is a good question. Maybe put a little dish outside of the garbage can with some raccoon food in it.
Well, raccoon food's just garbage, so I would just sprinkle a little bit of garbage on a plate.
Garbage.
There you go.
Okay.
A little plate of garbage for your raccoons, right next to the garbage can.
Well, thank you, Mary Kay. You've given us a drop for the show, and we appreciate it.
Congratulations on your promo.
Yes, thank you so much, Mary Kay. You have a wonderful day and weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Mary Kay Cabot on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, call Kyle Right hotline. Because someday I'm going to be bitching about the Browns quarterback situation, and Owen's going to hit something that's maybe you just get a little plate of garbage, and you put it out there for the raccoon. All right, I was going to talk about Miles there for a second. Are you questioning whether or not Shedeur can be a backup or be the backup for the Browns? Because she brings up a hell of a thing, because I remember the Joe Flacco conversation.
Absolutely.
About letting him go after the 2023 year, and she just jogged that memory.
But that's when you still cared about what Deshaun thought back then.